developing these art kits and just my whole passion with teaching kids, you know, to innovate and to explore and to use their imagination and create something that's personal to them. That's what I had to ask myself. I had to ask myself, what is important? What would you want to do in an art kit? Like if you got this and you were like, oh my God, I have this pile of stuff. Like I had this very clear vision of what I wanted these kits to be and what I wanted these kids to feel like when they open them. And so I have like I have like a So Soft Pocket Pal kit, right? So I do all these little things where I have where they sew, and I don't have the directions in there. I'm leaving it to them because I believe in them, because that's with my mobile program. I've seen it firsthand. These kids will do what they want to, what they can, they pick up, they soak up stuff, right? And if you give them that opportunity, they will do it and they will shock you. And then they will shock themselves and their minds they will blow their own minds, right? And it's just amazing.
Alison, thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm so excited to hear your story. And let's start. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and a little bit about your background?
Yes, thank you first for having me. I'm absolutely loving the workshops and the trainings, and I'm so excited to be here. I have learned so much, so I'm just so thrilled to be here and also to share with you. But my name is Alison, and I am an artist. These are my paintings. I paint. I've been painting for a long time. And I'm also an art educator, and so I kind of try to infuse the two. Yeah, so that's me. I am the founder of the Art Crate. I actually developed a program to be able to educate kids with art through art, and so it's a play-based learning program, and it's called the Art Crate. And the idea was to have a mobile program. So that's who I am.
Yeah, I had a look at your website, the Art Crate, beautiful name, and everything you say on there just resonates with me. You use words like innovate and imagine endless creative possibilities, and you work with all kinds of materials from junk drawer finds, recycled soup cans, discarded bottles, and you design and discover and imagine and innovate and create and explore. And I get goosebumps just thinking like what all the amazing things are that you do and that you do with your kids as well. So
Yeah.
well done for creating the Art Crate and for having that vision to teach through play and everything you do. Why did you open your club? What was your biggest challenge prior to opening your club, and what was the big like push to start the Art Crate?
Well, before the Art Crate came around, I was actually a homeschool mom. I was an artist, and I had my boys in school. Actually, they were in kindergarten and second grade, and I decided I wanted them to have a more art infused education, because in California, we don't have the school that we were in didn't have the arts. It just wasn't really sitting with me very well, because I really wanted to learn, the integration, like science and art and math and art. And so, in history, I mean, it was just amazing. And so they would come home, and I just felt like there wasn't a connection there. So I decided to homeschool them, and everybody said it was crazy. But I knew I could do it. That's the whole thing, especially with this program too, is with you guys. It's like believe in yourself and do it. And so I just live by that. So that
Yeah.
my most challenging, I think, before I developed the Art Crate, because I was working on my own art, I was homeschooling the kids, and I was working on my own education with art education, my master's. I had this dream to just put it all together. But as we know, a lot of our members here are moms, right? And it's rough. It's really rough to put all this together and have your kids and make it work. And so I patiently waited, but I was developing the Art Crate for at least 5-6 years before they're 18 and 20 now. So I just I put my wings on, and I was like, I'm ready. And I got a hold of you guys, and I was like, I had a lot of the basics of what I wanted to do and the focus, but it was just the the business side and everything. So there are some challenges. It definitely was not easy. Most challenging was just waiting until the right time.
When you have kids, everything else like falls on the back burner. It's just not that important. So I totally understand that. And well done to you. Alison, just tell me a bit about your mobile art focus. You said something about that now. What does that mean?
The mobile program came because with the thesis that I had to write, I decided that my thesis was going to be this program, was developing this hands-on program for kids where I would take the art crate, I would put my items, all my loose parts, my recycling in the crates, and I would bring these crates to venues or to people's homes, to the library, to whatever, in my car. And so it became this mobile program. And I passed with the deans and everything with flying colors. They were so impressed by this wonderful art crate program. And that's where it came from. And so it was, I wanted to have these little boxes or crates and deliver them or bring them to these venues and teach. And so that's where that came about.
Totally relate to that. I mean, we've got our little bags and we go to schools, teach our extramural classes there, and then we're off to a party, and then we go to a workshop at a restaurant. So running a mobile club is definitely a fantastic idea, and it's a good way to throw your net quite wide.
Yes.
So Alison, when everything like started to point to the direction that you can actually put on your wings and you can fly, what did you think and feel in those moments?
Terrified. Because you're never quite sure of yourself, and there's always strengths, right? Like my strengths, I knew I was confident in developing the projects, and I knew I was confident in being able to work with the kids, because that's what I did for years, from preschool, working with my own kids, doing workshops, just things, working with parents. All of that part, I was okay. But it was the marketing, and it was the business. It was all the things. It was designing, all of the things that that you don't really think about, when you're. And so I was terrified because I was crossing this bridge that I didn't really know much about, because they don't teach that in school, like how you're going to market. Even with my own art, we didn't learn. I have an art degree, but we didn't learn how to market ourselves for that. And so it was terrifying because of that side of it. And I honestly, I kind of put it off for a while after I graduated. I was like, I'm just going to keep doing the art thing by myself. I'm going to just do this little mobile program and keep it quiet. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of fear, but you just work through it, and you don't panic.
Alison, you also have an art kit focus to the art crate. So you've got beautiful kits that you sell. Would you mind telling me a little bit more about that?
I was nervous about the art kits, and that's pretty much why I found, CCC, because I was stuck. I was big time stuck. I got comfortable with my mobile program, and then I moved to Michigan, and I thought, you know what? I don't have any clients here. I don't have any emails. I don't have any local people. I don't have my venues I lost. I felt like I was starting over, and I didn't really know what to do, but I didn't want to give up the idea of these art kits, because I wanted to take my mobile program and put the things in the box, and then let the kids, get the box and just open it without the directions, without step by step, without me, and just explore. Because when I was a kid, I remember my mom just saying, go out, go outside, go outside. And I would play and make art with sticks and rocks and anything that I found, any loose parts, any nuts and bolts from the garage, like anything. I remember that so clearly. And so developing these art kits, and just my whole passion with teaching kids, to innovate and to explore and to use their imagination and create something that's personal to them. That's what I had to ask myself. I had to ask myself, what is important? What would you want to do in an art kit? Like, if you got this and you were like, oh my God, I have this pile of stuff. Like, I had this very clear vision of what I wanted these kits to be and what I wanted these kids to feel like when they open them. And so I have like I have like a So Soft Pocket Pal kit, right? So I do all these little things where I have where they sew, and I don't have the directions in there. I'm leaving it to them because I believe in them, because that's with my mobile program. I've seen it firsthand. These kids will do what they want to, what they can, they pick up, they soak up stuff, right? And if you give them that opportunity, they will do it, and they will shock you, and then they will shock themselves, and their minds will, they will blow their own minds, right? And it's just amazing. And so that's what I wanted these kids to do. And so I really thought it over while I was going through the training, and I was like very slow, and I loved the emails. You're like, you made it through step 1. I'm like, yay for me, but I meticulously, but I knew I wanted this. So I've got these boxes, right? These very thick boxes. And I knew that I wanted them to use the box. I wanted to use the box to mail the stuff in. I didn't want to box it into another box, right? This is my whole thing with recycling and using what you find. So I have these boxes. Inside the box, I have lots of loose parts, and each box is themed. So this is my growing garden box, and I have regular craft items, right? Because that's what kids are familiar with in school. They have their glue, they have their tapes, they have, regular craft items, papers and things. But I also find stuff from nature to add in there, like pine cones or little rocks or things like that, that can encourage them to actually go out on their own and find this thing. Because, find what they can, little scraps of wood, anything from home, in their junk drawer, in their closet, a dust bunny from under their bed, a feather, and just add it into this kit, because I want them to start thinking, what can I build out of nothing? Well,
Absolutely.
yeah, these don't have directions. I do not have directions. First you do this, then you do this, because I really want to encourage that they can use their imaginations, and I want them to have the confidence to do it and build that confidence. So that's what my kits are about. And I just, I spent a little cash because I had some set aside, because I have been planning this for a long time. This isn't just like, I'm going to do this. And so, that's what the art kits, and I'm so happy. But I don't think I would have gotten to this point without going through the CCC, without taking these steps and really thinking about it and applying it to what I was already doing. So I thank you so much for that. You guys have been awesome.
You're welcome. You're a very good student, Alison. I absolutely love that. I love that your kids encourage imagination and reflection and self-direction.
Thank you. Thank you. I have to say too, is that learning through play is really big for me. And I remember as a child, I learned a lot through play. And I think that it's really important to let our kids play. And that's also what these kits are about, is just to be able to go in and not have the parent direction, not have the teacher direction, and just go and actually be free to play. Because I think, doing these art kits and actually doing the mobile program and developing the art crate, I had to ask myself, what is important to me? What do I want to give these kids, right? And so with my artwork, it's very playful. And the reason it's like that is because I learned through play all the time when I was a kid. I have so many memories of just being sent out the door, playing, finding things on the ground or whatever. And just really, it's amazing how much you learn communication through play, design skills through play. You learn confidence, you learn to trust yourself. There's so much, cognitive, like everything. It's just amazing. And I love to give that opportunity and letting the kids just play. And I think when my kids were in school, there wasn't enough time for that. It was so just this, come home, have your printout, do the printout. And it was just itching at me. I couldn't do it for my kids. And that's now, how many years later, 18 years later, right? Here I am, and I'm done with my kids, and now I'm like, okay, I want other kids to experience this. So I'll tell you about this summer when I was in California before I moved to Michigan. I worked for a gallery, and I did the whole summer. I brought in projects things that I knew they didn't get in school. That was really important for me. Things that they weren't exposed to in school. So I would bring something like this in. This is a piece of wood, and I have the wire coming through it, right? And then I would give them a big tubs of loose parts, right? And they would make something like this, right? And they would stick all these little loose parts, right? And then I had them hang little signs, little things that were important to them, like family, love, their dog's name. I mean, anything, right? So these little tags were hanging, and I would bring just all these loose parts and just things like this, things that they can work with their hands in no direction. Just here's this. I would bring a sample. I bring a sample, of course, because kids need that. We sewed, right? So we made little cakes, and I showed them sewing. I showed them, we did some graffiti, right? This is all recycled stuff, right? We did some graffiti, popsicle sticks, right? I taught them graffiti because graffiti is illegal, but it's an art, right? So I taught them and I showed them, always make the connection to real world things, right? With real world people. And so we were allowed to express ourselves and make our own graffiti wall legally, right? So we did a lot of things like that, and that was really great for me in the program, because I could see some of these kids were terrified. They were terrified to they didn't know what to do. They had never been exposed to this kind of art making, right? And so I just it was such a motivator, and that's why after the summer was over, I was like, I've got to push this farther. I've got to get these in a kit, right? And that's where you guys came in, and I just love you for it. So.
Amazing. Alison, what has been your favorite part of your journey?
It's been my favorite part is being able to combine all of my passions, which is my own artwork, because I will never stop doing that. I'm an artist always, right? I sold my first painting when I was 20 years old, and I've not stopped. I'm just like addicted to painting. It's just who I am. So it's being able to combine that with my education, right? With my training that I've had in art education. And then also, I spent almost 2 decades homeschooling my kids, right? So that is not something that can be forgotten, right? I learned a ton of skills with that. And so I think that my favorite part is being able to combine all of those things, right? Into doing this. Like, man, it was hard. All of those things were hard to do, right? It's always hard marketing your own artwork. We're always starving artists, right? It's very true. And also just educating your kids is really hard. And then, getting a master's degree is really hard. And so just being able to combine those and being like, yes, this is who I am, and this is what I'm going to do with it, it was just that focus. Man, your sticky note thing on the board was like, that was the greatest thing, because I was like, it really narrows things down, because sometimes you're just blown away by so much. So that was really awesome, and that really helped me figure out what I want to go in these kits. So I thank you guys for that so much. But I think my favorite part really is just giving kids the opportunity to do what I was allowed to do, right? What I could do, and it's made a huge difference in my life. I'm a professional artist, and I think that I can honestly say that because I was allowed to play. I learned so much through play. I was allowed to be creative. I was allowed to, use the glue stick. I was allowed to do all these things, a hammer and nail, and work with wire and wood, and and so that's what I want to give, and that's what my favorite part is, just being able to offer that.
Yeah, the nature and being outside and playing just offers endless creative possibilities. I actually had a family member not too long ago say to me, she feels so sorry for Henry because he only plays with sticks and with recycled bottle caps, and and I was like, no, he's got toys. And the next minute, he called us and he said, come and have a look at what I've built. And it was this wonderful mess, but the story that came out of it and the imagination. And afterwards I said to her, are you convinced now? She was like, she's signing her kid up to our classes. So
no, it's true. I taught a whole class out of, all I gave them was cardboard and glue, and they built these wonderful spaceships, and each one had an incredible story to it, right? And it was just like, and the parents are like, cardboard and glue, and it was, but it wasn't, it was so, they learned, the parents learned that it was so much more because we had an art show after class. And it was a 3 hour class, but with breaks, obviously. But these kids ate this cardboard up. Like, they were just loving the cardboard, and they built these wonderful things, and each one they got to tell the story. And they'll remember that forever, and they'll build things. They might be engineers, and I don't know in class if they would have these huge bins, right? Huge messy bins of and glue sticks, hot glue guns everywhere, electricity, scary. you know, they're going to remember that. They may be building now, but they may be our future engineers. They may,
Yeah. Or artificial intelligence workers, whatever you call that.
Exactly.
Careers that haven't been developed yet. So, and that's the future. And I think that's where all these skills come in. And I think there's a big part of educating parents as well with this. And I'm so glad that you do these art shows at the end of class, because I think there's a really big part of parents that needs a bit of education. So that's so super.
I just want to say too, letting them fail, like let your kids fail, because that's how they're going to learn. Let them have, give them a design challenge and let them mess it up and let them figure it out, instead of cutting it for them or telling them what should go there or this or that. Like, just encouraging them and asking them, what if you did this, or what if, instead of doing it for them. Like the sewing project, man, when I taught that sewing class with these cake slices, the room looked like it blew up, right? And there were needles everywhere. And it was just like crazy. And, but I let them go in there and make their mistakes. And then they would have to go back and, because that's so important to let them use their minds to create these things, especially with recycled materials. You can't really go wrong with that. That's what's so great about using recycled materials, because we're so familiar with cardboard. We don't, as kids, like, they're not afraid to mess it up. It's not like some fancy piece of paper or something with print on it, or some kind of, foam thing that you buy at the art store. It's like, it's cardboard, and they relate to it. That's why it's really important to use these real world items like bottle caps and things, and building towers with these things, because they're so much less worried about getting in trouble or breaking it or not using it right. So I love the whole recycled part of your program, and just talking about that and using these things, and not because it's affordable for the kids, but it's important. It's really important.
Recycling, yes. Besides being very affordable for an arts and crafts club, and I think that's a big bonus about starting a club, is that you actually don't need a lot of money to get started, because your supplies are very cost effective. But it's, as you say, it's also that the skills they learn about creating something from nothing. And sure, it's also good for the planet, but I think the skills being learned from creating something, like those problem solving and cognitive and innovative and imagination, those I think that for me is, and that's, as you say, also not being worried that you're going to ruin this material. It's giving you that freedom, that creative freedom. So no, we're like completely on board with what you say and your mindset around how you run your business. Alison, last question. What advice or tip would you give someone who's looking to start a kids' arts and crafts club?
I think just do it. I know whenever I'm afraid to do something, I always ask, I've got especially in my art I've got a group of artists, and I'm like, I want to do this, or I'm going to try that, whatever. And I'm kind of wishy-washy, or I'm like, they're like, just do it. You're at the point, like, just do it. Don't panic. Don't hurry. Take the steps, right? Breathe. Give yourself grace, because that's so important, right? You're going to mess up, but that's okay, because that's what we teach our kids. Like, they're going to mess up. We need to teach them that that's okay. As adults, we're still going to mess up. We're going to go down one path, and we're going to be like, that didn't really work. But don't be hard on yourself. Just be like, okay, I learned. I'm going to do this instead. I don't know if these boxes are going to work, if they're going to mail right, if, they're going to come all beat up. There's a lot of questions always, but you know what? Give yourself grace, right? Trust yourself, which is so important, right? Always trust yourself, and listen to your intuition, because that's really what got me this far. I really believed that these kits and the way that I teach and my philosophy and is really, really important, because it was important to me so much that I gave it to my kids. I gave them that freedom. And so I have to believe that, because then what was it all for, right? So really think about what's important to you, and trust yourself that it is important, and trust yourself, to trust trust your intuition. Really, that's what I would say. That's my advice. It's important.
Yeah, cheers to that.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your time, Alison. It was
Thank
absolutely
you.
lovely to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited that I got to chat with you. I love the community so much. I love to see everybody's logos and what they're doing, no matter what step they're at. It's a celebration, and it's just really awesome. And I love the community that you guys built. It's amazing. And you guys are so positive and so fun and so real. You're so real, and I just love that.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.